As we suffer through the bad joke that is the Trump presidency, I'm reminded of another joke. It's the story of a man whose wife comes home unexpectedly and finds him in bed with another woman. The man says to his wife, "Now what are you going to believe? What you see with your own eyes, or what I'm about to tell you?" That joke reminds me of the president and his followers.
The only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that.
He did lose the election, decisively, and it wasn't rigged. It was Donald Trump's biggest loss in a lifetime of being a loser. At the same time, he is continuing his streak as the greatest American con man of all time, a hustler who hoodwinked and bamboozled tens of millions of Americans over and over. A rigged election is just another false claim from our liar-in-chief. Fact-checkers say he has told over 20,000 verifiable lies during his presidency, and his mindless, clueless cult followers believe him no matter what he tells them. The Trump cult is wide and deep. Around 73 million brainwashed, clueless Americans voted for him in the November election. It's unnerving and depressing to think 73 million citizens are ignorant, dim-witted, and indoctrinated cultists. Like the 900 cultists who drank poison in Jonestown, Guyana, Trumpists have willingly drunk the Kool-Aid of a dictator wannabe con man who tells them lies they want to believe. Millions of them like to call themselves Christians. That's important because the Christian right is Trump's biggest support group, and they are becoming increasingly militant and fascist. As self-styled Christians, they surely know that the ancient Hebrew and Christian Bibles refer to a demon from hell known as Beelzebub. The Hebrew translation is the Lord of the Flies, the Lord of disgusting pests that feed on manure. Come to think of it, that could describe Donald Trump. Trump can claim two titles, Lord of the Flies and Lord of the Lies. His biggest and deadliest lie has been his steadfast insistence that the coronavirus, COVID-19, is not as dangerous as doctors and scientists insist that it is.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
The Washington Post documented over a dozen times that Trump told the nation the pandemic would magically go away. Before the election, Trump liked to say it was a Democrat hoax that would vanish the day after the election.
It's COVID. You can't watch anything else. On November 4th, you won't be hearing so much about it.
As the New York Times reported on November 13th, the truth is the pandemic is shattering records for the number of daily cases as it devastates the nation. We're on the way to 250,000 COVID-19 deaths and more. Non-fatal cases are in the 11 million range. Think about it. 250,000 Americans have lost their lives to COVID-19. Those people had families, wives, husbands, brothers, sisters, children, grandchildren. Never again will they attend holiday meals, weddings, graduations, the stuff of life. Many of them would still be here but for the stubborn stupidity of our president and his brainless, ignorant followers. Kristen Urquiza lost her father to COVID-19 because he believed Trump's lies about the virus.
My dad was a healthy 65-year-old. His only pre-existing condition was trusting Donald Trump, and for that, he paid with his life.
When it's all over, we may match the 618,000 deaths in our first Civil War. And still, millions in the Trump cult believe his deadly lies that the coronavirus is a Democrat hoax. Over the time Trump has been in office, his rabid followers have shown themselves to be un-American racists, dictatorship-supporting fascists, and above all, haters. Like their leader, these fake Christians have defined themselves by who they hate. The Trump cult is a replay of Nazi Germany in the 1930s. Trump is keeping his cult fired up by hinting he might run again in 2024. That is, if he isn't in prison serving time for a long list of racketeering and tax evasion crimes. The hard truth is we've become the divided states of America. The red state Trumpers want a wall with Mexico. Now they're trying to wall themselves off from everyone in America they hate. Blacks, Latinos, Arabs, Jews, Asians, gays, transgenders, Muslims, immigrants in general, anyone who isn't in the Trump cult. We are in a new civil war, a cold civil war. It's mostly cold so far. But incidents like the multiple church murders in Charleston, South Carolina, the synagogue murders in Pittsburgh, the deadly car as a weapon confrontation in Charlottesville, Virginia, and the massacre in El Paso tell us there's a murderous component to the white supremacy of Trumpism. The FBI, which Trumpers hate because Trump hates it, notes the majority of terrorism cases it investigates involve white supremacist extremists.
I think the greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violent extremist.
The FBI says hate crimes last year were at the highest level in over a decade. You may not think we're in a civil war, but your fellow Americans on the radical right sure do, and so does a lot of the rest of the world. Here's a sampling of news reports from Great Britain, Canada, and India.
We watched them preparing, they said, for civil war.
Stephen Marsh says the United States shows all the warning signs of impending collapse and suggests Canada get ready for the next American Civil War.
An uneasy calm prevails in America before the results as the threat of a civil war looms. Gun sales have soared, so much so that there have been reports from gun stores in some cities that guns and ammunition are no longer available.
When Donald Trump finally leaves office, either by accepting the will of the American people or by fumigation, one thing we should demand is that President Biden not pull a President Ford. Screw the sappy notion of putting Trump's crimes and treason behind us. Agent Orange needs an orange jumpsuit.